Okay, I think we're actually working now. So, if you have a 2016 or newer Vizio TV, and it's a smart TV or internet connected TV, and has the API built into it, and I have something really cool that I want to kind of show you and maybe give you some inspiration as far as what you can do to your TV or TVs at home if they have an API built into it. And it's not just Vizio that has APIs built into their TVs. A lot of other manufacturers, like LG, has an API built into their internet-connected TVs as well. So what I'm doing here with a Vizio, I think you could probably do with several other manufacturers' TV. Vizio did not pay me, believe me, they did not pay me for mentioning their name or anything like that. This is purely just me kind of showing you what I've done in order to sort of get rid of the remote control and uh, in labs and classrooms and stuff like that. These things get lost, they get stolen, the batteries die, and people are pushing the button 50 times to try to get it to work because that always fixes it, right? Just keep pushing the same button, it'll eventually work. So my solution, when I found out that Vizio had an API built into it, and there's some documentation here. I went ahead and pulled up well, this is actually just showing, the series that I have. And you can get different, you don't have to have a 75-inch. There are some cheaper models as well, $399, whatever. But I don't know if any of the other Vizio series, have, the API built into it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But just check and make sure that whatever model you're going to buy actually has the API built into it. No, I don't need help. So, that's just basically the E series, the E3 series is what I'm using right now. Here's some documentation on the SmartCast API. And so the reason that I even really looked into this to begin with is because I wanted to get rid of the remotes, and I knew that there was an app from Vizio that would, do channel up, channel down, volume, power on, power off, that type of thing. And so I was looking into that app, like how could we make that app, put it on a device that the device is just always on, always running, and have people use the app instead of using the remote. And after some trial and error on that, it became pretty clear that the app that's designed by Vizio is really cool for a specific purpose, like maybe for home use, but it's really not designed to work in, like an enterprise level, network, or be something that is on all the time and multi-user. So, I started Googling a little bit, like I always do when I've got a question on something, and basically right away came up with this Vizio SmartCast API page on GitHub that was exactly what I was looking for. And the doors were sort of open for me at that point, and that's when I decided, okay, we've got to figure out what the API is capable of, what can you do. And I was blown away at the pairing process, generating a token, the remote keys that you can send, the information you can pull. It's very fully functional and very full featured, and it's pretty amazing. So you can go to the GitHub page and pull all this information up for yourself. It shows you if you want to run the command yourself to run the pairing process, generate the token, which you can see here. I've actually, I've done the pairing process and I've gotten my authorization token, and so that's the token right there. And so each TV that you pair to would have an individual token. Okay, so that keeps people from finding ways to remotely attack your TV. Basically, you have to pair to it first. And the pairing process involves actually connecting to the TV. A code pops up on the TV, and you have to put that code in, to one of these other commands here. And that'll pretty much take care of the pairing process and generate that token for you. So take a look at all of the options you have there. Like I said, the sky is sort of the limit on that. One interesting thing when I first started, coding on this was the API port was on port 9000, and there was an update that Vizio pushed out, and for whatever reason, they changed the port to 7345. And, for like several hours, it was kind of like, what is going on? This all worked fine, in my testing. I was like, this all worked fine, and now it's not. So what's going on? And come to find out, they had pushed an update and changed the port. So all of these commands here, like if you're going to run this curl command here, you actually would want to change this port 9000 to 7345, because all of these commands won't work on 9000 anymore if your TV's been updated to the latest software version. Okay, so that's pretty much it on the on the GitHub page, and all about the API. Like I said, there's just tons and tons and tons of stuff that you can do with this. I opted for a more simple approach, as you can tell. I wanted ease of use, kind of straight to the point. Let's not get everyone confused here. And for me, having a TV status indicator on the remote was extremely important. I didn't want an Apple TV that had went to sleep or something like that and had a black screen on the TV. I didn't want people clicking power to turn the TV on when the TV was already on. Doesn't mean they won't do that, but at least here, I'll actually go ahead and run this. We'll build it and run it real quick. Okay, so you can see this is actually the TV. You can't see my TV, unfortunately, and I really have no way of connecting another camera at this point. But my TV is on, and so if I click the power button here to turn the TV off, my TV just turned off, and you'll see the little word changes to off there. That just lets everyone know, that the TV is powered off. It's black for a reason. Okay, so click the power button again, and the TV just came back up, and we'll go ahead and mute that so we don't have any YouTube violations. So one of the things that I did is I went ahead and put in for the power button a sleep mechanism to keep people from, because can you just imagine if they just click the power button, over and over and over again. So to keep people from doing that, there's actually a sleep function in here that when you push the power button, let's see if I can find it. So here's the power state that is showing you whether the TV is on or off. This is it running every 3 seconds. Okay, so every 3 seconds, the app is going to pull the TV and say, basically, are you on or are you off? And whatever it gets in response is going to change it in the app. So let me see if I can find the power button. It's actually been a few days since I've looked at this. Okay, so here's the sleep 4. And so the 4 is 4 seconds. And there may be a better way of implementing that. This was actually kind of thrown together pretty quickly. So there might be a better way of implementing that. But basically what it is when you click this button here, so this power button is actually linked to this right here. So when you click the power button, it runs the command, it sends the power toggle command to the TV, and then it waits. It waits for 4 seconds, and that keeps people from just, clicking over and over. And then also what I found is if you drop the sleep time to less than 4 and allow users to, cycle faster than that, then sometimes, they can click the button and it doesn't actually toggle. And so that's kind of the last thing that I wanted, is for people to click a button and it not actually do what it's supposed to do. So with the sleep, they can't click anything else. As you see here, when you click on that, you're pretty much, it doesn't let you click on anything else. And then, you can kind of click whatever you want. If the TV's off, it's not really going to do anything. Although I did find that with Vizios, I forget what it was. I think I just clicked the down button a whole bunch of times when it was off. Or maybe this and this. I don't know. But anyway, the TV eventually came back on because I think it thought that, hey, someone was trying to turn the TV back on. So that might be something that Vizio has actually programmed into the remote to try to wake the TV up if someone's trying to navigate with it. So you just have your basic volume up, volume down, mute toggle, and input toggle. So the input toggle, when you press it once, actually pops the input selection up on the screen, and then you just you keep clicking input to cycle through the inputs that you want, or the input that you want to select. The other really cool thing too is if you have an Apple TV, or I think really any device that supports the protocol, like a DVD player, Blu-ray, whatever, the Vizio TV can actually control that device through the HDMI connection, which is really sweet. So basically, without having to include a whole bunch of, Apple's API and all that stuff, we're actually controlling the Apple TV through the Vizio TV. So that's pretty cool, and that actually eliminated another, remote control that we had. So we had the TV remote, we had an Apple TV remote too, and they needed to be charged, and whatever. And again, lost, stolen. This one app basically does everything. There are a few functions of the Apple TV remote that I can't really duplicate without a whole lot of work, because the new Apple TV remotes sort of, they have like the touch sensitivity and stuff like that on them, where you can swipe left, swipe right, whatever, which I don't really prefer myself. I kind of just like clicking left and right, but whatever. So these buttons here are basically controlling the Apple TV if we're on the Apple TV input on the TV. Now, as soon as we use the input button here and switch over to a different input, whatever device is connected then, like a Blu-ray player, we would actually be scrolling through the menus of the Blu-ray player and not interacting with the Apple TV. So it's really seamless. It gets rid of a lot of like IR blasters and serial adapters and things like that to control things over the network. It really just cuts all of that out, and you have a direct wired connection that's much more stable to deal with, especially with something that you want to basically be set up and forgotten about, and it just works when people need to use it. The last thing that you want is, someone sitting down and they can't get the TV to work because, the batteries are dead, or the remote's missing, or it's just too confusing. I mean, if you look at how many buttons are on this thing that we don't need, Voodoo and, Netflix, Amazon, all that stuff, like no one is going to use these displays, for Crackle. They're just not going to do that. Most of the time they're going to use Apple TV to stream whatever, or they may want to mirror the iMac that they're on to the display, and that's pretty much it. So, stripping out a lot of the functionality of this remote was actually a good thing because it makes it so much easier to use. If you can't use this remote, chances are you don't really know how to sign into the computer either. So, again, this is just an app that runs on macOS, and so you double click on the icon there, and it pulls the app up, and there it is. So, and by the way, the little green checkbox, if you didn't know, is the like enter or select button. Okay, so that's pretty much it as far as the functionality and the usability of the app here. We can just quit that real quick. And, I don't know how long exactly it took me to design and write this app. I don't know, maybe a few days, a week, something like that. And, of course, the port change on the Vizio API really kind of threw a wrench in everything for a while, because it was like, what is going on? We'll get into the code just real quick. And so this is sort of the cool thing, is like, if you have all of the same, TVs, maybe not the same size, but they're all pretty much using the same API and the same, key commands, then if you have multiple TVs, this app is really easy to adapt to more TVs. You can just sort of, copy it, change it, save it, and now it's ready for the next TV. And really all you have to do is go through the pairing process and generate a new token for the new TV. And then whatever the IP address of the new TV is, you just change it here, and change it here, and put the token in, and that's pretty much it. If you save the app and compile it and build it, then it's ready to go. So let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it as far as the code as well. I mean, it's just a lot of repeat stuff. It's kind of like one of those things where, like, once you get one key command, figured out and programmed in, you're basically just duplicating that section of code and just changing the key press. So like right here, input cycle, key list, code set 7, code 1, and it's an action key press. Well, if we go to the API website, I believe they have that actually listed somewhere. Yeah, cycle the input. Okay, so the code set is 7 and the code is 1, and so you basically go into the program here and you change it to 7 and 1, and it's a key press, and then link this button to this button here, and you're done. That's it. Okay, so it's basically that just over and over for all of your buttons: the power cycle button, the toggle button, or the mute toggle button, volume up, volume down. You just keep going down the list. And so, obviously, if you wanted to include more buttons that I don't have included in this app, you just keep adding and linking more buttons. You can make this as complicated as you want. If you just go to the page here, you can see there's several more things listed here, and I didn't necessarily need channel up and channel down or the previous channel button. I opted for the mute toggle. That way when you click on it, it's actually going to just change it from whatever it is right now. But if you wanted a mute on and a mute off button, you could actually put 2 more buttons on there and link those that way as well. Totally up to you. Design it however you want. And there's even more than this. I don't know why, but there were several things. I feel like the back button, for whatever reason, didn't work for me the way that I needed it to. I think the back button here is actually the exit button, what Vizio calls the exit button. But when it came to the Apple TV and what Apple TV considered to be back, it was kind of what Vizio thought was exit. So you kind of just have to, play around with it a little bit and figure out whose back is back and whose exit is exit and enter and all that stuff, because everyone sort of has their own little interpretation of that. But if you play around with it enough, you can figure it out and make some really cool apps and really cool things. And on this API page here, there's actually a JavaScript API and a Python API. So someone has taken the time to sort of figure out how on this Pi Vizio, instead of running all those curl commands, you can actually just download the Python script, Pi Vizio, and it makes it a lot easier to generate that token and stuff. This, I don't know if it's been updated or not. This initially did work for me, and I used it to generate the token and complete the pairing process. But when Vizio changed the API port to 7345 from 9000, this Pi Vizio script stopped working. So I kind of had to just do things manually. And maybe they've updated it since then. I don't really know. But when I was trying to use it, I couldn't figure out how to change the port. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks.